Hi everybody, my name is Rin Longmaid. I'm a restaurant broker and consultant at Santa Rosa Business and Commercial in Sonoma County, California, and I'm the founder and host of this series, Deep Dish, where we explore the business of restaurants for restaurateurs, restaurant buyers and sellers, and the restaurant curious. Today, Ed and I are live streaming from the incredible Three Leaves Heritage Foods in Santa Rosa, California. And in a minute, I'll be joined by the owner, Rob Hogenkamp, who's going to talk to us about this unique offering and how to engage with it now, over Thanksgiving, and in the future. So Deep Dish streams once monthly, episode 13, Ed.
It's crazy.
It went by so fast. And each episode's about 30 minutes long. We always talk on speak on a topic relevant usually to restaurant sales, the purchase or buying of a restaurant. We always live stream from one of your favorite Bay Area restaurants, bars, cafes. This doesn't even fall into one of those categories. San Francisco, Marin County, Napa County, Sonoma County. We haven't been to Mendocino County, but we could go there too. Let's see. Oh, one thing, if you joined us last month where we live streamed from Parish Cafe up in Healdsburg, you know that we always give away a $100 gift card. So at the end of the episode, I'll be announcing the winner of this gift card. But if you'd like to win a share at Three Leaves Heritage Foods, this card will get you a share. If you will like and post a comment on this feed, either now while we're live streaming or anytime between now and December 15th, where Ed and I will join you live from Brick Maiden Breads in Point Reyes Station in West Marin County. Post a comment, you could win a share at Three Leaves Foods, just like the winner, Parish Cafe, today. So I want to introduce my support team today. I already mentioned Ed. Ed is a live media consultant for business marketing. Holly Hansen joins us remotely. Holly Hansen, Public Relations, she's the principal of that. She's going to post both her contact information and Ed's contact information on the feed. So if you want to get in touch with either of them to talk about how to do what I'm doing or some other need you might have for your business, please contact them. I could not recommend them more. I'm going to go get Rob because he's not here yet. There he is. He's right on cue. Hi, Rob.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well.
Good.
So Rob is the owner of Three Leaves Foods. I helped him purchase it from Jeff Nunez.
Yes, and
Tiana Kraus.
Yeah.
In 2016. I'm in amazement. Since that time, Rob has built the membership. He's moved location. He built out this incredible site. You're going to see the front of the house at the end of the episode. But in the meantime, explain Three Leaves Foods to us.
So Three Leaves Foods is an opportunity for people in the community to get a nutritional boost in the middle of the week. We're open Wednesdays from 3 to 7, Thursdays from 10 to 2, and Fridays from 10 to 2. And we create local organic entrees, soups, salads, desserts. Everything is gluten-free and dairy-free in our store. And we try to purchase locally from farms and ranchers whenever possible. We have a couple of different ways that the business works. One can pre-order like an entire bag of food at once and then come and pick it up during our open hours. That's a share, is what we call that. It's called a community supported kitchen, much like a CSA would work in a farm.
So community supported agriculture.
Right. So people can come in and they get a soup, 2 salads, an entree, a condiment, and desserts to help them with that part of the week so that they can get all the food that they need, and when they're busy or kids have after school activities, all kinds of things like that. We also make stone ground nut butters in-house, lots of fermented foods. We sell some great kombuchas and other beverages.
Bone broth?
Bone broth. We have chicken, beef, and pork bone broth that we sell. So not only can people pre-order, but they can just come in and purchase a la carte. And then on Thursdays and Fridays, we also add a grab-and-go lunch menu with a bunch of really nutritious and delicious lunch bowls that people can buy.
Very easy access to Heritage Foods, right off Sebastopol Road here in Santa Rosa. Easy on off to Highway 12. lots of parking, very easy.
Yeah, it's
So-
a great location. We worked together to find like the perfect location that was equally accessible from Santa Rosa and from all the West County.
Yep, that was very important.
We have people driving up from Petaluma. It's pretty easy from Petaluma and down from Healdsburg and Cloverdale
Great.
to come here. So it's
So Rob's had an illustrious background. Let's talk more about that when I rejoin you, a little
Okay.
bit about your background.
Okay.
So we're going to see him at the end of the episode.
all right. Thank you.
So a little bit about me. I'm a restaurant broker. I started in this industry in my late 20s, early 30s. I was living at Tassajara Zen Mountain Center, and they threw me in the kitchen to wash dishes, and I ended up being what's called a guest cook there. I've been featured in one of the Tassajara Zen Mountain Center cookbooks, which is, I can't even tell you, it makes me want to cry. Such an honor. I actually ended up in Sonoma County to work not far from here at Amy's Kitchen, frozen organic vegetarian food. You should know about it. If you don't, look them up. They're amazing, internationally distributed. I had this amazing opportunity to be the personal chef to actor Don Johnson and his family. Yes, I cooked meals for Dakota Johnson when she was 7. I owned my own restaurant. I went to graduate school. I ended up teaching at the Culinary Institute of America out here in Greystone, teaching management classes, and I've been a restaurant broker for the past 8 years. I have different certifications in restaurant brokerage. I'm super passionate about it. It's one of the reasons that I offer this series, because there's so much information that buyer and seller only have to engage with maybe once or twice in their entire careers, but that information is so important. And if you know a little bit about it before you get involved in it, your buyers and sellers are going to be much more empowered. So today's episode, I haven't even talked about that. The Health Department Change of Ownership Site Review. It's a thing. That's the title. It's a thing. So a lot of the times, if you don't take away anything today, take this away. When I tell my sellers, when I engage with them, when we get a buyer, we're going to have to go through a health department site review. Oh, no, that's fine. The health department loves us. Every time we come in, we always get a good rating. This is a placard that they get from the Sonoma County, the Green Pass. Completely different, at least in the county of Sonoma. Every county is different. And let me say this. I'm coming to you live from the state of California. California Health Department mandates are statewide, so it's going to be different from state to state. And even in California, they differ radically from county to county. The rules and laws don't change, but how they're enforced or mandated, those are different. So rather than your inspector that comes out and says, oh, your sanitation solution isn't strong enough and don't leave rags laying around, or your refrigeration is a little cool, it's much, much bigger than that. What it is, well, let me say this. So in San Francisco, at the change of ownership, the inspector doesn't come on site until almost the close of escrow. And even then, they're going to come in actually kind of similarly like the quarterly inspectors, and they'll give a small list to the buyer and they'll say, best of luck. As you move north of San Francisco, that story changes radically. Marin, Napa, Sonoma, those health department change of ownership site reviews can be brutal. I did one last year in Larkspur, and it took a year. The exhaust hood was out of compliance, so that was circumstances beyond anybody's control, so an exhaust hood had to be installed. But I'm going to go through today some of the things that get handled, and a lot of the times these enforcements at the change of ownership require the business to not operate. So let's see, what do I want to talk about? I'm going to check my notes really, really quickly. Bear with me. So I got that. Oh, so one thing I want to talk about too is, as a restaurant broker, I deal in what's called bulk transfers. So that's where a buyer and seller get into contract. We open an escrow. The buyer is going to take ownership of the restaurant, bar, cafe, the CSA, with a new entity, and the seller is going to take their entity and go away. By entity, I mean S Corp, LLC, something other than a sole proprietorship. So the buyer will then get brand new permits, ABC permit, that's for the liquor license, um, health permit, business license, all those things. There are other ways to take ownership. Another way a buyer they could do a stock sellout, a share sellout of the seller's stock. So the buyer takes over that corporation, or it could be a membership buyout of the LLC, and the buyer takes over that LLC. And sometimes buyers will use this strategy to try to get around, well, for more reasons than just this, but to try to get around going through this comprehensive code enforcement that the health department requires. And I'll circle back on this. It's not like buyers are trying to get around being safe for their guests, because those kind of things, what I'm talking about, this is like the change of a water heater or grease traps, and I'll talk about it. So they might want to circumvent having to secure new licenses and permits, because they'll just assume those licenses and permits as a function of being the new officer of the corporation or the new manager of the LLC. However, that said, it might not be foolproof. For instance, an ABC license, when the officers or members of the ABC license are changed, and the change is more than 50%, that kicks in a full transfer of that license. And that transfer of that license is very public. Everybody knows, the poster goes in the window, it's listed in the newspaper. So other agencies might see that and say, I don't care what you're doing, we're going to come in and do an inspection. So it's not foolproof, but it may be a way to help mitigate that, because, and here's something super important, the buyer will not be able to operate, they will not be issued a health permit until the requirements of that site review inspection, the results of that site review inspection are satisfied. So I'm gonna list what they are, and then I'm gonna take a little break, and then we'll come back and I'll dig into these. So some examples here's the small examples that might be covered in a site review. You've got wood shelves for food. Health department doesn't like that. You don't have a cleanable surface on the wall, meaning you don't have the right paint, or you don't have FRP on the wall. There's an industry logo term for you, Ed. We were talking about that earlier. Or maybe your refrigeration this is like a crossover. One thing that does happen for both is the refrigeration is checked. Other things are sinks. I'll talk about that. Water heaters, very tied to sinks. The grease trap, and like I said, I'll talk about this. So if you're just joining us, my name is Rin Longmaid. I'm a restaurant broker and consultant out of Santa Rosa Business and Commercial here in California. And I'm the founder and host of this series, Deep Dish Live, where we explore the business of restaurants for restaurateurs, restaurant buyers and sellers, and the restaurant curious. Every time we air, I give away a $100 gift card from the host restaurant. Today we're not actually at a restaurant. We're at 3 Leaves Foods, which is a subscription. It's a retail space that sells prepared foods, gluten-free, organic, incredible ingredients. They provide shares to its members 3 days a week, and you can stock up for the entire week, of soups, entrees, salads, desserts, and Rob will talk more about that. You could win a share from 3 Leaves Foods if you like and post a comment on our episode either now or anytime in the next 30 days. And at the end of the episode, I'll be announcing the winner from Parish Cafe, where Ed and I live streamed last month. Okay, so I'm going to jump in. So when a buyer and a seller get into contract, there are 2 major contingencies. And there can be more contingencies, but the 2 major ones are lease and lease terms, landlord approval and lease terms, that's one, and the health department site review and satisfying that site review, that's 2. The reason those 2 are important is the buyer will not be able to operate or take ownership without those 2. Well, you can take ownership without the health permit, but you can't operate. You can't take ownership without a lease. What the health department, I'm going to talk specifically about Sonoma County, since they're the most strict, and it can fan out differently to each county. So in Sonoma County, when immediately after signing the contract, we go to the health department because the process is going to be long. We don't want it to hold up the escrow any more than it's going to. The health department won't come on site until the buyer has paid for an exhaust hood air balance test to make sure the air is coming in and out. You know, sometimes you go to a restaurant and you try to open the door and you can't open the door because it's like sucking too much air. The air balance isn't correct on that facility. So it has to do with the swamp cooler, the return air on the ceiling, and the exhaust hood that sits above the cooking equipment. So once it passes the air balance test, then that report is sent to the health department. The buyer sends in their application for the change of ownership permit. Buyer pays for both of these. It's not a ton of money. The two together, $836 maybe. And then the buyer and seller come on site when the inspector, and remember, different inspector, different department. It's no inspector you have ever seen on site. Well, you might have seen them only because they got a promotion into this other department, but it's different department, different inspector. And they're gonna come in and they're gonna look. So if I'm selling a business that's been operating for 4 years and it's selling, I'm not gonna be that concerned because that operator secured that permit 4 years ago, so they're probably within code. But if I'm selling a successful restaurant that's been in operation for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years or God forbid 30 years, God bless them, the health department's going to have a lot to say. Now, that's not to say certain codes hadn't been enforced. Maybe some codes, new codes, had been enforced during that time, but for the most part, not overarching. The whole kit and caboodle has to be taken care of at change of ownership. So here's an example. Let's talk about lighting. So in a kitchen, lighting has to be a certain number of foot candles, has to be super bright. And a lot of kitchens don't have bright lighting. And it has to be, different lighting is required whether you're at a cook surface or a prep surface or a washing surface. And what the inspector looks at is they look up and is the lens to the light broken or non-existent? Are the lights shatterproof? Because if they're not shatterproof, you don't want that to shatter and glass to go everywhere, because then you have to throw away everything within that was alive and open in the kitchen when it shattered, because you don't want glass getting into the food or into the stomachs of your guests. So that's one thing. Sometimes that can be an easy fix. Sometimes it's changing out fixtures. So let's talk about sinks. If a health inspector, if I walk into a kitchen and I'm at the cook line and I can't see a hand sink, has to be within line of sight, I know the inspector is going to come in and say you need to install a hand sink. A prep sink, are you guys familiar with a prep sink? 18 by 18 inches square. Then an 18-inch return, meaning it's like a drain board. Also stainless steel sits next to it. So it's big, right? Any facility that preps food has to have a prep sink. So I sold a yogurt shop a few years ago. The only thing they brought in sight that had to be washed were strawberries. And they were met with either you cannot serve fresh strawberries or you have to install this sink. This sink was bigger than their overall square footage. No, I'm kidding. But really, we had to cramp, where could we even put the sink? And then guess what? I'm gonna jump into the other topic of water heater. When the health department says you need a new sink, I automatically know you need a new water heater. Because the calculation, what the health department does, and if an inspector is watching this, if I get this wrong, forgive me, but I have the general idea right. They calculate every sink in the facility, whether it's a sink in the dining room, bathroom, whether it's a sink some random sink up in the office that nobody uses, whether it's a prep sink, the 3-compartment sink, that all those sinks are running at the same time. The hot water is on full bore. Every sink, water's all on, has to keep a temperature, I can't remember what it is, but it's hot, consistently for a certain given of time, and that's what mandates the size of the water heater. That is a very large water heater. Most of my premises, even if a new sink isn't required by the site review, the change of ownership site review, those water heaters are still going to be out of compliance. You're thinking, no big deal. I'll go get a water heater. Not so fast. What if there's not even space to accommodate a water heater that big, right? Back of the house is intentionally kept small. It's a cost center. Everything in the back of the house is an expense. You want to keep it small so that you have enough room to make money in the front of the house, right? Or what if it's a gas water heater and the gas line coming into the building isn't large enough to support that size of a water heater? Do you hear? You see where I'm going, Ed?
Yeah.
We're talking building department permit. Then you have to, if you have to install something like that, the health department's going to require a full set of plans. Not that big of a deal. However, then you go and the buyer seller who goes and contracts with somebody to draw those plans, list everything that needs to be satisfied, list all the solutions to satisfy those mandates, submit it to the health department, and 23 business days later, the health department will give you an answer on whether or not those plans satisfy the problem. All that's happening inside of escrow. 23 business days. Let's say it's Thanksgiving. Let's say it's Christmas. So a qualified restaurant broker kind of knows all this stuff. We don't know everything. We have no idea what the health department's going to say, but we have an idea. So now some of you might be thinking, goodness gracious, who takes care of this stuff, right? So the thinking with the health department is why didn't they mandate this to the operator, the current operator? The thinking is they don't want to put expensive mandates on the current operator that might put them out of business. So it's kind of a gift that they're giving. It's something that it's an accommodation they're passing on to the current operator, that at change of ownership, where all this change is happening, that's when you do the code enforcement. That's when you bring things up to code. But sellers are like, I'm not doing it, and buyers are like, I want this thing turnkey. And meanwhile, what's the landlord doing, right? So generally what I find is if the buyer came in with a full price ask, like they're asking exactly what the seller listed the restaurant for sale, then maybe they'll say, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, please pay for these to happen. Or if the buyer came in with a really low offer, the seller might counter that offer with an as-is addendum, which means the seller's thinking, okay, I'm accepting this low offer, but whatever has to be taken care of to get from here to you opening your doors, you take care of it. But more often than not, it's a collaborative negotiation, mostly because those things are happening under the seller's ownership. The seller is operating. And what happens if, you have to install a water heater, or in the case of Marin County, not the health department, but their sewer and water, they're now mandating at the change of ownership, any facility that has an above ground grease trap has to put it in ground. That means you're digging up concrete, you're getting building permits, you have plumbers on site, you have to get a plumbing plan. It is a big deal. And you can't operate when, concrete dust is flying all over the place. When does that happen? Does it happen under the seller's watch, under the buyer's watch? Who knows? It's a negotiation. Usually it's a balance between the two. Often what I'll talk about a deal I'm doing right now. There's some things that have to be done, not a ton, but enough where it's got to close, the facility has to close down because a prep sink has to be installed. It's almost always the prep sink, and a water heater has to be installed. So they're going to do that after escrow closes. The seller is going to pay a bonus to the employees, because one of the things buyers, especially in the North Bay, well, all over the United States right now, it's very difficult to get workers in restaurants. In Sonoma County, in the North Bay, it's difficult because when we had our fires, a lot of the construction industry pulled out the restaurant workers into construction jobs. So it's very difficult to get qualified restaurant employees. So if the seller has them, that's a very attractive asset to the buyer. So the seller in this instance is basically paying the staff to have a little vacation while the buyer takes care of the health department requirements, and then they'll reopen. One of the reasons why buyers don't want to do it after escrow is, what if they get in there and start fixing things and there's some super expensive, horrific thing that needs to happen? The buyer doesn't want to be left holding the bag. And why doesn't the landlord get involved with this? the landlord, the seller is making money on the sale of their business, right? The landlord already has a lease in place. That lease has already been negotiated. Usually landlords work with negotiation on, am I the landlord going to do tenant improvements, or am I going to bring the facility, am I going to add things to the premise on behalf of the tenant? That happens when a lease is new. That doesn't get renegotiated when that lease is assigned. And even if the lease is terminated and a new lease is brought forth, it generally doesn't happen then either, because, again, the seller is selling their business and walking away with a chunk of cash, right? So let me take a break and see if Holly has sent me any messages. She usually sends me. Okay, I don't see anything. I think I'm going to wrap it up here. So let me think. Have a health department site review. You have to have it. You can't open without it. Let me just look. Sinks, water heater size. Oh, let me talk about one more quick thing, and then I'll bring Rob back, and then we'll close. One other thing that happens at the code enforcement. So some of you might be thinking, what about ADA? So that's compliance for your guests that have disabilities and some of your employees. The health department, the only thing I've ever seen the health department deal with when it comes to ADA is the drop in the eating bar, or full liquor license bar or wine bar. It might be high for bistro seating, and then might drop down for wheelchair seating. That's the only time. But where they do get involved is guest access to the bathroom. So let's go to San Francisco. You're dining in the dining room. You're enjoying yourself, and you have to go to the bathroom. Generally, what happens? Generally, you walk through the kitchen. You walk through the kitchen. The fryer's going. You see the dishwasher. Hi. You cannot do that anymore, right? If there's seating, on-site seating, and the bathroom is in the back of the kitchen, the operator either has to seal it off with walls, or if that can't happen, which generally can't happen, a restaurant has to be provided in the front, building permit, plumbing, walls, toilet, the whole nine, and you lose square footage for seating, or you can no longer provide on-site seating. No big deal for a cafe, a less big deal for a cafe with takeaway food than it is for a restaurant. Although with COVID, everything's shifted, right? So many restaurateurs have this big, robust takeout, but that's something to consider. And there's one more quick thing that I jotted down. Refrigeration. Ed, how could you let me forget about refrigeration? What generally happens is a restaurateur gets in there, they've been operating, they're doing well, they're successful. They don't have enough refrigeration. They don't have any place to put refrigerators. I know, let's put it outside. So they put their reach-in refrigerator, or they build a whole walk-in refrigerator outside. That's fine. Clearly, they did not have the health department come out and approve that. So at change of ownership, when the health inspector, the change of ownership site review inspector comes on site and they see an outside walk-in or an outside reach-in, it has happened to me in 3 deals I've had in the past 6 months. A handful of things have to happen. Either there has to be a full enclosure between that door of the refrigerator, completely enclosed, to the door of the restaurant with quarry tile, coving, cleanable surface walls, or the refrigeration has to go away, or it has to come inside, go inside the facility. The thinking is the health department does not want prepped food out in the open air. Enclosures, you have to get rid of it. So I've seen every solution. I've seen some of my clients build enclosures. Some of my clients get rid of the refrigeration. Some of my clients build refrigeration on site. Generally, if there was room in the kitchen for that refrigeration, it would be inside. Generally, they have to eat up very valuable real estate in the front of the house to accommodate that refrigerator. But again, front of the house usually doesn't have quarry tile and FRP on the walls. All that has to be taken care of. I can't believe you were going to let me forget that, Ed. So I'm going to find, let's go inside and see Rob. Welcome to Three Leaves Foods. We're coming in live.
Yeah.
He's with clients.
I got one.
So Rob is talking to clients right now, and he has. Why don't we just look around? So these are reach-in refrigerators, where anybody from the outside, whether they're members or somebody who just stopped in from seeing this, you can access any of this, and then they hold the membership shares in the back to guarantee that subscribers, members, get their full share. And then you can look over here. This looks like it's the pastry case.
There we go.
And then over here.
$46.50 right in here.
You can see, and I know Rob's going to join us and explain this to us. This is some of the offerings, and this is really cool. Very sustainable business. So he puts it in these bell jars, and then the subscribers come back and they sanitize them in the back of the house and reuse them. Okay, Rob, jump in.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes. So like Ren was saying, this in the front here is what a share looks like. I mentioned this earlier. So it's a quart of soup, 2 quarts of salads or sides, a condiment, an entree, which is like 2 to 3 servings, and a healthy dessert.
Okay, so tell me what this condiment is.
So this is called Mojo Verde. So the theme this week is foods from Spain. So everything here is kind of inspired by some Spanish recipes. So this is a condiment. It's a little bit spicy, but not too spicy.
Is
It's
it
mostly
like
cilantro and
chimichurri?
parsley. It's similar, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody has their own like pesto or
Yes.
chimichurri or
One and the same.
Yep, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. This is a selection of the kinds of gluten-free desserts we do. So this is our cassava brownies, chewy chocolate chip cookies. These are the the cookie that comes with the food this week is called a pistachio polverone. And this, it just means like ground up pistachio. So it's kind of like a Mexican wedding cookie, but the Spanish version.
And gluten-free.
And gluten-free. This is a zucchini chocolate chip muffin and peanut butter cookies. And then I mentioned our grab and go lunch bowls.
Yes.
This is one of them.
Oh, good.
So we do these sweet potato noodles that we do mixed with like a Thai peanut sauce, and we do this one with either tofu or chicken. We also have 3 or 4 more different flavors to
You can
choose
leave.
from.
I'm gonna buy that and take that with me.
Oh, good. And then
And probably this pistachio thing.
and we also do like a seafood entree every week. This one's really pretty and seasonal. So it's a cranberry crusted rock cod with a bunch of seasonal vegetables.
It's gorgeous.
So it has like puffed brown rice, thyme, green onion, and fresh cranberries with a Dijon glaze underneath. Helps it adhere.
So talk to me about Thanksgiving. What's happening?
So for Thanksgiving next week, we always do everything but the turkey pretty much. We have all different sides and pies and other kinds of desserts. So we do an amazing gluten-free, dairy-free pumpkin pie with all these pumpkins you see around. They're all going to get turned into pumpkin pie filling. The decorations have another purpose. Will be part of our pumpkin pie. We do wild rice stuffing. We do a really yummy carrot ginger soup. A big root vegetable mash with celery root, parsnips, sweet potatoes, carrots, all like mashed up with hemp milk and olive oil and just yummy,
Sounds
yummy
delicious.
stuff.
So let's say somebody's not a member.
Yeah.
They're watching this. They want to come in for Thanksgiving. What's the best way? What's the best way for
They
them to do
can,
it?
you know, normally to order online, you have to be a member. Get you one of these cool bags that we have, and helps us pay for the jars that we use, the membership fee, a one-time $25 membership fee. But this week, with Thanksgiving, is the only week people can pre-order without being a member. And everything will be ready for them in our refrigerator when they come pick it up
So
on
one
Wednesday.
time, not annual. One time.
One-time fee. Yep. So, but for this week, if you go online to where our menus are, you can scroll down the menu to Thanksgiving menu and look at all the selections that we have and pre-order. Our hours are also a little different next week. We're only open one day, the day before Thanksgiving, Wednesday from 12 to 6.
It's going to be hopping in here on Wednesday.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, talk a little bit about your background.
Okay.
While you do that, I'm going to run and get something. I'll be right back.
Okay.
So talk to Ed.
All right. So I have been cooking all of my life, all my working life from the time I was 15. When I moved to Sonoma County, I started working for the Ceres Community Project and really got into this this model of food is medicine kind of thing. So that's kind of the way we cook. Everything has our clients' health in mind. Everything is made with love as much as possible in the kitchen. We, it gets busy back there, but we always try to put good intention and positive vibes into the food. And I've cooked in pretty much every kind of restaurant. I worked in a pizza restaurant. I grew up in the South, so I worked in barbecue restaurants. I worked in bar and grill kitchens, summer camp kitchens, and 5 years, like I said, with the Series Community Project, which is a nonprofit here local in Sonoma County.
So I want to say Rob is the real deal. I work with all kinds of different clients, and it gives me a chill. We went through so much adversity. So there was so much adversity to get Rob from pre-Three Leaves Foods ownership, not to today, but to a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And no matter what the situation was, he always treated me and everybody else with love and respect.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never even called that out to you, but I personally really appreciate it because I get it all.
Yeah, I bet.
So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm going to talk to Ed and the people online for a second, and then I'm going to come purchase some stuff.
Okay.
So I want to get this beautiful thing behind me. Can you get that? So the winner of the Parish Cafe gift card up in Healdsburg is Tess O. Many of you know Tess because she and her husband Gene owned the fabulous, acclaimed, and sorely missed GTOs in Sebastopol. Tess, congratulations. I hope you're watching today. And if you want the opportunity to win a share of Three Leaves Foods, please like and post a comment on this episode 13, either today while we're live streaming or anytime between now and next month, December 15th, where Ed and I will rejoin you in Point Reyes Station at Brick Maiden Breads. Until then, well, let me say, my name is Ren Longmaid. I'm the founder and host of this show, Deep Dish Live. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next month.